the Built Different podcast.
A podcast called Built Different.
It's time for the Built Different podcast.
John Harrison, Built Different podcast, episode number 5. And what a special day we have. We have one of the best in the industry, been doing construction his whole life. Justin, he's been working with us. This is his 3rd year, but he's been in the industry for over 20 years. And his father is the one who kind of taught him the industry. And first question, Justin, with what your dad instilled in you, what would you say is the most important thing that's really changed or brought the work ethic that you have to the industry?
I would say caring about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Really putting the heart and effort into your product or whatever you are doing, whether it be with your hands, verbally, just do your best at it, and be integral.
And that was what your dad had instilled.
What he instilled in me. And you get a lot of that here. I love Brittivia because of that. Because we're surrounded by people with the same like mind, with the same ambitions, and with the same passion.
I would agree. Yeah, no, and I love it. I mean, we've talked super early in the morning and late at night, and we have to get things done for a client, and you're always there every time, answering the phone, giving me the info I need, and I hope that I'm always there too.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you guys are here, I'm there. When I'm there, you guys are here. We're all a team. It's fantastic.
I'm excited about this spring.
It's going to be awesome. Snow's melting.
My favorite time of year. Everything's going to start turning green in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When that happens, what do you know is about to happen?
Rain.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's summer too. The good times and what we look forward to once we get out of hibernating.
So, deck season's starting. I got some questions for you.
Sure.
Just to kind of see your perspective on some stuff. What would you say homeowners care about the most when you go out to a new prospective client that's thinking about building a deck?
Well, usually when I sit down and meet with some clients about the decks, they've already put some thought into, their deck or what they want to do. Obviously, I wouldn't be out there, if it hadn't been a thought in their mind. And the most common question that I get asked after we go through the whole process and what design they're looking for is this deck big enough? Or is this size going to accommodate for my needs? Because, usually there'll be 2 or 3 different sizes that, people will want to go over. And a lot of the times when they go with the smaller size, they end up sort of regretting it. It gets tight, it gets crammed. So I would probably say the deck size is something to really consider. Like, are you a hoster? Do you have people come over? Are you the one that's doing all the grilling? Are you grilling up there? Or are you just having, a table or like a party? And a lot of the times I get this space just isn't big enough.
Yeah. Well, it's added square footage to the house, really. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
6-8 months a year, it's
like your new night out. If you have a brand new deck that's accommodating for your guests, you don't have to go much farther than your backyard to have a good time.
Absolutely. Get a couple nice thick ice.
Yeah. Put them on one of those Traeger Pro 22 wood pellet stove grills.
That's something that we've been doing for the last few years. Tell people a little bit about that.
We'll touch base on that really quickly. It's something real cool that we're doing differently to kind of separate ourselves from the rest. And we put every transaction on a Capital One's Business Sparks card. Whether my crew needs a porta-john or we got to go get a measuring tape, whatever it is, it goes on this Capital One Sparks cards. We get a point to every dollar we spend. At the end of the year, we're like billionaires in point status. So we figured out a way really to appreciate our customers. We cashed in those points. And, just by simply going with us, if you make the required amount, we are going to drop off after the project is done, either a Traeger Pro wood pellet stove, 22 version, go ahead and go look at it. It's awesome. You can get a smokeless stove fire pit, or even now we got a pizza cooker that goes right on top of that thing. So,
a pizza
oven. Those are big. One of my clients requested that we started doing that. He's like, you should really look into that because these stoves are awesome, but people are, doing the pizzas. But it's something cool, something different. If we're close and you like what we do, and why not get a free grill?
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. And you knew some of the different woods you could put in.
Yeah, it's like 20 different flavors. I've researched this whole thing. The only thing I haven't done is eating off it, which, by the way, I'm going to put a request. We're building them and shipping them, but I need to start eating off of them.
Yeah. So it sounds like size is a big thing. It does sound like a space for grilling's important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a space for them to put an awning someday is important.
Yeah, patio tables, a lot of people like that 4x6, whatever those measurements are exactly. But I mean, once you get the chairs in there and people with elbows, I mean, we're big guys, so
Yeah.
I need a lot of space. A lot of the times you just can't move around with certain dimensions that they had. And yeah, so bigger dimensions is usually.
Now, so that's cool. I love it. Size matters. But what is a misconception along a lot of homeowners have? Like they're thinking something's going to be one way, but it's actually a little bit different than they expected. What would you say would be?
I think a really big misconception is when people are shopping decks. You got the two options. You got pressure treated wood or you got the maintenance free composite.
Yep.
A lot of the times, now maintenance free, yes, there is a price difference, but it's not so much to the point where, you shouldn't consider it over a pressure treated deck. And what I mean by that is, yes, there is a difference, but with pressure treated wood, you got to let it bleed for the full year. You got to let it go, but you are going to have to do one thing.
And no one wants to wait that. They think they have to get that on
it right away. And even if they do get it right away, what do they got to do? They got to contact a painting company or a deck staining company and having somebody come out there, give them a quote for that product, for that material, for that time and that labor. Now, usually on an average with the deck size, that cost difference, believe it or not, is about that gap is what they were going to pay another company in a year to come out and paint their deck. It's like, but then on top of that, in 3 to 5 years, depending on what Miss New England wants to do, you're going to have to do it again. And it's a continuous cycle of maintaining and staining until, the wood just does what it does and deteriorates and rots. So really consider going with composite, thinking, you know what, I'm going to be paying a painter this difference, but it's one and done. Now I got a composite deck. Don't have to worry about it. So
that kind of brings me into my next question, but I think you've almost answered it in that what's the difference between budget friendly and high end, but in the end, they almost equal out as far as pricing. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. If you were to put the timeline of the deck of how long it lasts and what you have to put into it from the beginning to the end, I almost guarantee it, you're going to spend more on the pressure treated in the end.
Yeah. And you got something that's going to rot in the end.
Absolutely.
At one point, you have to replace it.
And if you are like that homeowner that does get nervous and jump the gun and paint the pressure treated before the chemicals bleed out, you will be standing on one of those decks that just got built. And in 3 years, your board is going to be rotted in the center.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Like, I just had this deck on. I thought pressure treated is supposed to last, but look, it's rotted over here. You trap the moisture on the inside. It'll turn gray. It'll turn these ugly, nasty colors. Let it do its thing. It will last longer if you.
There is a place for that.
Huh?
Typically, I'm guessing, what would you say is the best time to do pressure treated? Would you say it's multifamily situation? Would you just say it's a budget thing? When do you think it's a good idea to pull back? And I know you're probably going to think it's not very often, but what would you say is a good time to actually do a pressure treated?
I would probably,
you could say never, but
no, I ain't gonna say never, because there's some spots where the sun hits.
Yeah, that's great.
And Trex is taking a lot of measurement. There's some Trex line items that add solar retention to their products. They're a little bit more on the upper ones, but on a budget friendly Trex deck, they typically can get a little hot. So if you say you have a pool, but a lot of times people will build the pool deck, and it can get it can get uncomfortable on their feet. So little things like that, kind of think of. But that might be a time where you might want to go with the pressure treated.
I say, yeah, no, it makes sense.
If you're selling the house, and you just want the next people to have the amenities of a deck, save yourself a little bit of money. Go ahead and get the pressure treated deck. We warranty all of our decks for 10 years, and it's also transferable to the next homeowner. So, regardless of wherever you go, they're going to be covered. Do a fantastic job. So
that brings me to I'm so glad you mentioned that our workmanship is 10 years. What do you when you go into a house and you're talking to people and they've already met with a couple other companies? What are you seeing for lengths of other warranties in the industry?
In 3 years, I've only seen one that had 3 years. Other than that, it's the Massachusetts required 1 year warranty. And then they'll sit there and say, hey, if it don't happen in the first year, it isn't going to happen at all.
Yeah.
And I said, how long have you lived in New England, my friend? Yeah. Because it does some crazy stuff.
I agree.
We haven't had snow like we had 10 years ago, but I know that we're due.
Yeah.
And when you are,
this year was pretty good
with the ice. Absolutely. There had some ice dams and some backing up, and there was some, but absolutely. And
yeah, I agree. It's funny. I looked at this year's snowfall where we got kind of quite a few storms at once. and those snowbanks were getting almost as high as what I remember when I was like 8, 9 years old.
Yeah,
They're
you can't
getting
see
up
down the
there.
street. You got to inch out, inch. You're
Yeah.
halfway in the road before you actually can see anything.
Yeah. So another question: what would you say is an underrated feature people should consider when designing their deck? Like something, and it doesn't have to be something to your personal liking, just something you see that you would love to see more homeowners take advantage of, or maybe something you get a call a year or two later where they want to add this to it where they could have just done it in the first place and taken advantage of some of our volume discounting. What would you say would be something that's underrated that you think people should pay more attention to when you first go out the first time?
I think if you are going to go with that composite and you have made that decision, I think that you should consider something that is known as joist tape. Joist tape is just protection, added protection.
That's a great.
Underneath.
Oh, that is perfect, Justin. Yeah. So explain that.
So joist tape is basically a black plastic vinyl tape that goes right over the top of your 2x8s that ensures that they remain integral while your composite's taking a beating on top. I mean, if you're going with a composite that's supposed to last forever, why not get the joist tape to assure that it's going to last just as long?
Very small insurance policy to make
Absolutely.
sure that the pressure treated stays as strong as the composite as you go through the years. Correct?
Absolutely.
And is it more or less, is it a good way to explain it that it's a gasket kind of, so when the screws go through, does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because there's like a little like a butyl in the roofing industry. There's a butyl tape. It's like a caulking tape almost, but there's like a thin layer of that. So when the screw goes in, it's actually sealed off.
Wow. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool upgrade.
I mean, it really is, and it just assures you that it's going to last the length of time. And I mean, if something were to fall apart on the composite, the first thing that's going to be all your 2x8s underneath, from the heating and the expansion, the salt in the air, what New England does, just what it likes to do. That will be the first spot.
Yep. I agree that joist tape is a very small amount of money for an insurance policy that makes sure that this thing's going to last a long time.
A lot longer. Yep.
So I'm kind of doing a sidebar from the questions I've been thinking about, and I want to ask you, what is one of the funny things that may have happened on an appointment you've had with a client, or maybe something that happened on the way to a project?
This is a two story. There's a two.
Oh, we did two.
Yeah.
Special.
Yeah, no, because this is one that I just love and I think about all the time. So when I go out on sales, I'll sit down with either husband and wife, husband. Very few times I get them both. The world is what it is. We all got to work. Got to do our thing. So it's hard to get both husband and wife together. So, on the weekends, we have family day, and I go and see my father-in-law, my in-laws, and, I was sitting there, and he's asking me questions. Hey, how are the sales going? How's everything doing this? And I'm like, Dad, things are going good, but typically I get to a point where a wall where I'm talking to a husband, and he goes, you know what? I like what's going on. I really do, but I have to talk to the wife. And so I tell him that, and he looks at me, and he kind of smiles, and he goes, Justin, I had somebody out here last week, gave me a price, and I said I need to talk to the wife. She don't care what I'm spending on it. No, this is like, it's my money. I'm going to do it. He doesn't say my money. He's like, this is my project. I'm going to handle it. But I just say that to get the guys out of here.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? That's probably what they're doing. And I just start laughing a little bit. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a little more assertive next time.
Yeah.
So the next lead that I sit down, it was a husband and a wife that were together. They were together right there. He comes home. It was a 5:00 appointment. Opens up a bottle of wine, sits down. He goes, this isn't going to bother you, right? This is our routine that we do. And I said, absolutely not. He goes, all right, we got a budget. And very rare I get a budget. And he told me, this is what we want. This is what we want to do. He goes, and if we can fit it within this budget, I want a shower built on the outside of this deck, right next to my hose. I like to come in, I get dirty, I ride bikes, and I just want to take a shower. My wife's like, you don't need a shower. And he's like, if it's within the budget, we're going to get the shower. So we go through all the details. I punch through all the numbers. They want this very nice composite deck, upgraded rails. I mean, they upgraded everything. And I'm thinking he was thinking he wasn't going to be in the budget. And when I turned it around, we were $3,000 less than their budget. And he gets excited. He starts blowing his mind. He goes, all right, put on the shower. Put the shower on. And I see his wife just side eyeball him. And he goes, he doesn't need a shower. And I look over and I'm just quiet, just waiting for this whole thing to happen. He just starts swirling his wine real fast. And the first thing I notice is his nostrils flare out. He exhales and he goes, we don't need a shower. So I was like, okay. So right there, I got my father who says, you know what, I make the decisions. And I just witnessed right there the wife shutting down the shower when it was clearly in there, but it was going to cost them. They had plenty of extra. He was so sad. That's all he wanted. He didn't care about the deck. He just wanted the shower. And like, no, well, the wife made sure that
Well,
wasn't happening. So that was funny.
anyone who's married, I can say we've all been there. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Oh.
take that with a grain of salt. So, I got to respect it.
So back to my questions. So I know the clients are always right, and they see what they want to do to their property. What about sometimes when a client has a bad idea or a bad way that they want to kind of do something? Have you run into that where they've kind of come up with something that the more you look at it, you're like, I don't know if I'd do it that way. And did they see your vision or?
Yeah, I mean, typically that actually happens a lot when they're redoing a deck with stair location. A lot of time, these old decks will have their stairs in the most inconvenient spot. They'll be like, we have these stairs going right here. The plank sweats right here, but they won't mention anything about it. And they'll either want to keep it there or move it into a spot where it's still going to eat up, their yard. So it's like just simply repositioning your stairs to a part or position on the deck, maybe up against the house and move it aside, maybe give you a platform so you can maneuver them any way you can. But to utilize the space that's wasted from your stairs before, that then gives you more space in your yard, So not necessarily bad ideas, but, pushed after sitting down and hearing their vision and what they really want in a deck and space, it's just easy to come up with different ideas. And
That makes sense. That is something. And one thing people don't realize is if you do have a side that it's nicer to put the stairs on because of the way the yard's set up or whatever, and you have to go down to a platform, come back, and then double back and switch back and come down the same way, so you keep everything on one side. It can be a substantial upgrade, but in the end, they're going to be using that yard and those stairs for 30 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it's money well spent.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, then once it opens up that space you didn't know that you had, and it's like months later, you're like, oh, that can go right there, whatever it is, whether it be a put on a yard. But it's good to open up the space just by simply taking a step back. All right, how can I move some things? This isn't going to work for you from what I'm hearing you tell me. So why don't we like this? Oh, wow. You know what? That's awesome. It's worked out quite a bit in our favor for a couple of different customers that we've had.
And that's just a testament to your dad and your work ethic, that you take the time to sit there and kind of put yourself in their shoes.
Overthinking is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So Trex, huge name in the industry. Been doing it longer than any other composite company in the industry. I can remember as a 19-year-old being on site framing a house, and a Trex rep coming up and showing us the first generation of Trex decking way back. And I'm not going to say my
some
age,
of the first
but
ones I go to. Yeah, I always make jokes like, gentlemen, this is Trex. As they're sipping that cognac and cigars back in the day, and I see some of those decks, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this existed there in that time frame.
Is there anything, though, with the Trex decking that you think that a different composite would work better than Trex?
I mean, it's like,
maybe it's back to that pool situation, possibly.
Yeah, and also, just certain brands have certain colors. It's like Nike, Adidas, and Reebok. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they have all their own quality. They're great products. Trex is an awesome product. They have different layers and different tiers, and everything is specifically geared to essentially like what you're looking for. However, it could be made comfortable for you and your family, how it could be safe, how you no longer have to maintain it.
Yeah.
Again, it's just, time is money at the end of the day. People aren't buying these decks with money. It's their time that got them this money to be able to enjoy this. So it's essentially you just don't want to waste your time anymore. So it's like maintaining things when you could be doing stuff like, enjoying your family or other stuff. It's like that's cutting into your time. That's short.
And the cool part about it is with Brittivia is we're not tied to any brand. We like Trex.
Yep.
We put it on any of our projects if we're doing in-house projects or we're building new construction homes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic.
But if someone has a favorite, we can pretty much. We've put TimberTech on. We've done all the major AZEC decks.
Fibron,
Yep. Yep. You got the client, you go in, and because we are a multi-purpose construction company, they have a bathroom that needs to get done and a deck, or they're thinking deck or possibly a farmer's porch out front. So you have a client that's kind of weighing out what project they want to do. Stuff. Any thoughts on that, or which way you may direct them, or do you think you just try to kind of bring it through questions to figure out what they really want?
Kind of bring it through questions, kind of see what they really want. I mean, some people need a deck.
Yeah.
You know, some people want a deck. Some
Yeah,
people need a bathroom.
Yeah.
Some people just want a bathroom. You know, I really, at the end of it, you know, I'm big on just peace of mind, peace of your heart. Think about the project, both of them.
Oh, great.
Close your eyes and just the first one that comes to your mind that gives you anxiety.
Yeah.
Probably deal with it, you know, because we shouldn't really be having anxious thoughts or, you know, anxiety inside of us. I mean, especially if it's something that Brittivia can handle.
Yep. Wants and needs.
Yes.
And being able to decipher the 2
Mhm.
and then maybe helping them along on it. That's
Absolutely.
really cool, Justin. That's it's kind of a staple of what you do, is
Yeah.
being able to decipher that stuff.
Yeah.
And so brings me to another question is, you had the shower. Yeah, she didn't want it, he wanted it. Have you ever run into it where one wants the bathroom, the other wants a deck, or anything like that with clients? Or they've kind of sifted through that material before you
Yeah, they
get
kind of most of the arguments come with color, like detail. You know, I
Yeah.
had one up awesome sit down with the husband,
Yeah.
picked out everything he wanted. He said, "All right." Called the wife out. The wife pretty much picked the exact opposite. He looks at me and he goes, "What she said."
Yeah.
I was
Smart man.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. Is there a one project that really stands out to you, that you kind of look at and you're like, wow, I thought one way about this before we started. I heard what they had to say, but now when it's done, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Or maybe vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, we did one last year that was involved a lot of detail. That I mean, during the process, I was like, you know, this is going to be a challenge. You know, the really detailed ones are a challenge. But when it was said and done, I mean, it just looked so immaculate. I mean, it was the Trex deck with the waterproofing system. We had privacy railing on the side so we couldn't see the neighbors. Underneath was arched entryways with the AZAC with the 6x6 beams. And there was a nice paver patio that was set up underneath it with the horizontal lattice. It was a complete makeover and it just looked awesome to the detail. I believe it's on our website. I mean,
Oh, wow.
like details on there, but man, that was an awesome job, you know. Really showed the little. I'm very big on the minor details to make it look as close to perfection as we can get. Nobody's perfect at the end of the day, but we strive for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That's cool. Yeah. No, I love that part of our job is at the end of the day, you get to look back and see.
Awesome. And it's better too when the homeowner comes home like, oh man, I almost drove by my house. I didn't even recognize it. And it's good. That's why we're in this.
Yeah, that's awesome. It is. It's a feeling of pride, but not a prideful position.
Yeah.
But you're just so thankful that you were able to help someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is kind of a cool question, and it might be a little off color and you weren't ready for it. But if you weren't working with Brittivia in the industry construction, what do you think you would be doing?
I'll be with my boys over at Gibson. I would probably want to. I'm a knowledge seeker. Like I really want to continuously step up to that next level. And I mean, you know, when I first got into construction, it was laboring. You know, I had to clean up trash and I had to labor, and I sat and I watched and I observed. And when I had the opportunity, I was able to step in and take over, you know, whatever role that was necessary. So, like, I think I would want to really get into like metal.
Oh,
that
cool.
would be, you know, something really. I don't really know too much about it, but tack welding, some kind of.
You know what I was thinking you might like? Being a pastor.
Lord will open that door.
Or a preacher. Or an evangelist, no?
Yeah, I thought that window was shut. Hopefully it'll be opened again. I know I tried a few times. And hey, if it's not happening your way, you got to sit and wait for God to do it.
Well, I think you probably pastor your house and you pastor your kids. And you
absolutely.
I would imagine you may even walk into a house by the end of it.
Yep. We're always talking about the Lord. Yep.
Well, that's
we can. That's absolutely good. I mean, just, you know, a side note. I'm the age Moses was, I think, when he first committed murder.
Yeah.
And then ran.
Awesome. Well, there's a different job description.
Well, then
probably
we
haven't
started
tried yet.
Moses. He was 40 years old when he fled. And then he
Yes.
spent another 40 years before he spoke to the bush.
Yeah.
Well, God talked to
Yeah.
him. So he was essentially 80 years old before he was actually
Yeah.
called to his ministry. So I wasn't saying I had to be discouraged.
So yeah, you got 40 more years.
Yeah, I gotta go run from Egypt.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of Egypt for 40 years.
So, well, thank you so much,
No
man.
problem.
And I know like we're ending this broadcast right now so that you can get to another appointment.
Absolutely.
And we're thankful for that. And we're thankful for all the people that have worked with us. As a matter of fact, you have someone today that you work with before.
Yep, last year. Yep. Returning customer. We get those quite often. They see how we handle ourselves. They see our integrity. Once they find out that we're a do-it-all construction company, not just decks or bathrooms, they could call us right back just on our integrity alone.
Yep. So that's cool. And so we're ending now so that you can get to an appointment.
That's right.
And we're so thankful for you guys. Please remember, like, subscribe, and comment. And we're so thankful for you folks that are checking us out and looking us up. And please comment, put questions out. We're going to start to respond to them. We are going to go live at one point so people can call in. And we're just thankful for everyone now who's starting to watch us. And have a great, blessed day.